For almost 2 decades, CoachArt has provided free in-person arts and athletics lessons to more than 10,000 children impacted by chronic illness. When the global pandemic hit, we pivoted from in-person lessons to virtual online lessons, and from traditional in-person gala events to a virtual mini gala series. So, tonight, we're inviting you to be a part of this movement, to use virtual tools to offer more arts and athletics lessons than ever before, and to serve kids with chronic illnesses and their siblings in more cities across the country. Thank you for joining this CoachArt virtual mini gala.
Hi, I'm Molly, CoachArt's Deputy Director.
And I'm Eric, CoachArt's Senior Program Manager, and we both want to wish you a happy National Coaches Day. We've both seen the importance of volunteer coaches up close. I've been at CoachArt for 5 years, and every day I work with amazing individuals who give their time to teach a skill that they enjoy, anything from yoga to guitar to tennis to cooking, to a young person with a serious medical diagnosis such as cancer or blood disorder or a neuromuscular issue.
And I've been at CoachArt for 9 years. And during that time, we've had over 2,000 volunteer coaches that have taught almost 53,000 lesson hours for CoachArt kids.
So we'd like to kick off this salute to coaches with an exercise that demonstrates how important coaches are in our lives.
We ask that each one of you think of a coach that's been really impactful in your life. And at CoachArt, we define coach really broadly. So think of anyone that has taught you an art or athletic skill, including any kind of sport, a musical instrument, cooking, dance, etc.
And when you've thought of that one coach, write their name in the chat box on the right of the screen. And we'd love for you to add why you chose that coach as well. And after this event, we're going to send a full list of all those important coaches to all of you.
I am definitely adding my college theater professor, Shelley, who not only was an amazing coach, but she taught me important life lessons, like how to be bold and brave. In addition to the chat box that hopefully you're typing into right now, I want to introduce you to some of the other cool features on our platform tonight. We've got our entertainment box, where if you were here before the show, you got a chance to answer trivia questions about famous coaches. You'll see CoachArt FAQs there, a clapometer will appear later, and you'll see the number to text to donate. Speaking of donations, you'll also see a donate button that you can use as well. You can donate at any time, and midway through the show, we'll check in on the total amount raised with our cool pledge-link tool and tell you what each gift level will fund. You might see a Twitter stream on the left of your screen, but you can include that or remove it by increasing or decreasing the size of your browser. And you'll see the word live throughout the show, because everything tonight is being debuted live for the first time.
Tonight's host show is going to be about inspiration and good feels. For just over 30 minutes, we invite you to shake off all the crazy things going on in the world and join us to meet an incredible CoachArt student named Samuel. Then witness a virtual writing lesson from New York Times best-selling author Kelly Corrigan, and catch a virtual fireside chat between CoachArt board members Jimmy Pitaro, the president of ESPN, and Xander Lurie, CEO of SurveyMonkey.
Before we dive into those stories, though, we have a special announcement to make. And for that, we'll turn it over to our executive director, Greg.
Thank you so much, Eric and Molly, and everyone joining us tonight. I do indeed have some really big CoachArt news, but first I want to give the context for that news. So one way to think about what CoachArt does is that in every one of our communities, there are kids impacted by chronic illness who are stuck at home. They often can't participate in local extracurricular activities, and they might be homeschooled. And that's part of what made the CoachArt Connect app so exciting when we launched that in 2018, was it gave any volunteer the chance to go through an online training, online background check, and then just see the kids who are in your area and what they want to learn and schedule a match directly on the platform. So when the pandemic hit earlier this year, we pivoted to virtual lessons. And that just meant giving all of those one-on-one matches a Zoom URL that they could use in training in how to do virtual versions of whatever they were teaching. And then at our June event, we announced a big experiment that we were going to take this virtual model to 5 new cities that we had never gone to before and do a one-time experiment for a virtual summer camp. And I'm thrilled to announce we had 176 students impacted by chronic illness who signed up in 30 days in those 5 new cities of Chicago, Dallas, Denver, New York City, and Portland. As you can see from this photo, the camps themselves were great. We had 4 sessions. This is Molly teaching a yarn art exercise to the kids. And it led to a huge surge in the amount of programming that we do. The number of lesson hours that we do per month is up 53% over what it was last year, and up 148% over 2018 when we launched the CoachArt Connect platform. And so it is without further ado that I'm incredibly excited to announce that we're going to be extending CoachArt programs indefinitely in all 5 of those new cities: Chicago, Dallas, Denver, New York City, and Portland. And we're just incredibly excited to welcome those cities into the CoachArt community permanently. Now, the amount of programming and the number of students that we serve largely depends on how much funds we raise, that it goes directly to being able to provide those programs. And so it is with great gratitude that I would like to recognize 2 of our champion sponsors for tonight, longtime friends of our board, Shamath Polyhapatia and Elena and Scott Schleifer, for their contributions. And so with that, I'm excited to turn it back over to Molly and Eric to move on to our featured CoachArt story of the evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Last year, we used the CoachArt Connect app that Greg just showed you to expand into San Diego. We opened a 1-person office there, and our amazing senior program manager, Emily, began helping volunteers and families impacted by chronic illness to use that app to match and schedule their lessons.
When we launched in San Diego, one of the first students we met was named Samuel. We were blown away by the story of what he and his family had been through.
Often, CoachArt comes in after a child has identified an art or athletic interest while working with a hospital social worker or specialist. That was the case with Samuel. So we put together this video of his experiences that led him to CoachArt.
When Samuel was 2, he was getting sick very often. We were going from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, and no one had any answers. He has a long list of things: skin cancer to chronic fevers to speech impairment, processing impairments, Alice in Wonderland syndrome, which are migraines that swell your brain and affect your vision and your hearing.
Samuel hallucinated for 4 years. One time Samuel came in and he said, I need to lay down, Dad, I'm sleepy. And then when he woke up, he wasn't my son anymore. And his eyes had changed. He woke up screaming. There was no consolability. And he was trying to pull his tongue out of his mouth. For the first couple of weeks, we couldn't figure out what was going on. But it was like this would happen 6 to 8 times a day.
The pediatrician recommended that we see someone for him to be evaluated. That's when we met Miss Rilla, and she just was so amazing with him. And she found out that he loved books. She would pull out his language through books. He went from being nonverbal and kind of in the corner behind the couch to speaking at least 2 or 3 words we could understand. And then he was able to talk more and more and more. And then he's writing, books about fish under the sea.
When all hope was lost, he got an idea.
She found his passions and applied it into writing because he has so much information that he wants to get out, which was really interesting that he has these hearing problems, speech problems, vision problems, but yet she was able to pull out this love of writing.
We found out it was a panda. Penny the panda said there are no lush green forests because of hunters.
Writing has definitely been one of the most amazing tools to help him talk, to help him relate to people, and to pull him out of a shell that he felt closed off from everyone. He's got so much bottled up inside that it's been such a great way for him to put that out on paper
when I back up as a dad and I look at that, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this kid is like, I've never been more proud of anybody. And that's why I tell people, like, literally, he is my favorite human. And I've never known anybody to overcome such adversity, do it so gracefully, and do it so lovingly, and still be an incredible asset to every person he comes in contact with.
I just go with it. If they get sick every 2 weeks, I just go with it. I just say, hey, so I'm sick. What's bad about that? At least I can skip school.
What an amazing kid and family. After hearing Samuel's story, we knew we needed to get him a particularly special writing coach.
Most of our amazing volunteer coaches are not professional artists or athletes, but sometimes we have an opportunity to provide a student with a once-in-a-lifetime coaching experience. Our board member, Jamie Barrett, is friends with New York Times best-selling author Kelly Corrigan, and she agreed to be Samuel's writing coach.
Here's a little bit of their experience together.
Kelly Corrigan is a 4-time New York Times best-selling author and a frequent contributor for The Times, Today, and the Oprah magazine. Her new show, Tell Me More with Kelly Corrigan, debuted just last night on PBS stations across the country. Kelly brought incredible thoughtfulness to her lessons with Samuel.
There are these plants that are so resilient that like one drop of water and like 10 minutes of sunshine and they're just going to go. And Samuel felt like one of those people. So it was really fun to actually give him real advice, sincere advice.
We're going to try a little dialogue for next week, which I think could be really fun.
His instincts are actually really pretty honed. There wasn't anything I said to him that I wouldn't say to a 25-year-old who was trying to write a book. It was a real conversation between two people.
Miss Kelly is nice. Miss Kelly's a very good writer. Miss Kelly is very touching. Getting to hear her give me some knowledge about writing.
So the thing we're talking about right now is called backstory. Before we meet the character, what happened to them?
For him to get input and help and insight into that piece of his life, it ignited a fire in him.
Will the poachers be served justice? Because in the ugly nest.
Coaching has been so important to our family because each one is different and they pull out different parts of my children that I may not be able to reach.
From every story of a transformed life, the common denominator is somebody believed in me. Somebody thought I was worth their time. Somebody thought I was worth their energy. Somebody, kind of leaned into my life.
I think that you need to be able to have resources like this that help you help your child achieve their goals and their dreams.
Chronic illness for a kid is totally exhausting, and so you have to find ways to punctuate it. And if this helps the day move faster, if this gives him a little inspiration to keep going with writing these stories, if writing these stories is a respite for him, let's keep doing it.
He's closed up for a lot of his life, but CoachArt has made that bubble more bearable. We are so grateful for all of the coaches that we've encountered and all the things that he's been able to do and learn. I can't imagine doing this without programs like CoachArt. They wouldn't get this opportunity any other way, and I'm so grateful.
My coaches have been very important to me. Oh, that means I think it's been wonderful.
Wasn't that impressive? And as you know, when professional authors like Kelly have a new book coming out, they do a book tour and read an excerpt from that new book in front of live audiences to whet their appetite for the full book.
So of course, Samuel has agreed to do a reading from a segment of his comic. So please sit back and enjoy the first 2 minutes of the adventures of Super Tiger, Problems on Planet Panda. We've got our popcorn ready.
Golden. And I've been writing books since I was 3, and I've chose this story to share from you. From the Adventures of Super Tiger, I present Problems on Planet Panda. Once upon a time, Super Tiger was flying over Planet Panda, and he picked up a distress signal, so he landed on the planet's orbit. When he landed on Planet Panda, he saw no bamboo forest, just stumps. Then he saw a large black and white ball and walked to it. He found out it was a panda. Penny the panda said there are no lush green forests because of hunters. They want to take our skin and sell them as dresses and shirts. They use the bamboo to build their furniture. Super Tiger said, I'll go catch the hunters for you. That way they won't use your coats for clothes. I know how it feels to be endangered. They continued talking about endangered animals for a few hours. So Super Tiger went on his way to capture the hunters. Meanwhile, a poacher was hanging out posters as a panda. Wanted, $100 reward. When Super Tiger was walking through the forest looking for the poachers, all of a sudden he felt something cold under him, like wire. Then he was jerked up into a tree, surrounded by a wire net. The cord was tied to a boulder that was very heavy. Then he knew that the poachers knew that he was here because Super Tiger just remembered he accidentally landed his spaceship on Bad Guy Lane. Super Tiger waited there for a while, and the poacher found him. The poacher made him fall into a hole by cutting the rope line. But Super Tiger didn't notice the hole because there were leaves and sticks on it. Then he realized he wasn't alone. But then he realized he was in a bugoid nest. To be continued. Will Super Tiger escape the bugoids? Will Super Tiger save Pandy the Panda and his friends? Will the poachers be served justice? Find out by reading my book.
How awesome was that? Please join me in a big round of virtual applause for our 2020 Writing Student of the Year, Samuel. And I'm thrilled to announce that Samuel has agreed to give a digital copy of his full comic to every donor tonight. So if you make a donation, we'll be sending you Samuel's comic. And we'll also be sending you a digital copy of Kelly Corrigan's most recent book, Tell Me More.
Tonight, we're partnering with an amazing new online event tool from Pledgeling that automatically adds every donation you make tonight, either by text or by clicking the donate button to the total on the screen. Oh my gosh, we're already above $53,000 with individual donations that have come in so far. And we'd like to tell you about what your gift would support at each level. Rather than just listing the benefits, we want to show you one photo that represents each level as well. For the $10,000 level, our accompanying photo is one of our first ever New York City students with her paint ready to go. This level funds the launch costs of CoachArt's virtual programs in a new city. At our last virtual event in June, a donor generously contributed to this level, and his funds are being used right now towards scaling up the programs in New York City, where 48 families impacted by chronic illness have already started the application process.
For the $2,500 level, our photo is from our recent Pokemon Art Club, where students got to design a character and submit it to our drawing contest. This level funds a virtual club, which is a multi-week experience where a group of volunteer coaches teach a group of kids any arts or athletics activity. This is my specialty.
For the $1,000 level, our accompanying photo is from 2019, when we set a new record with 99 students signing up for our Winter Art Extravaganza. A donation at this level will cover the supplies and costs of teaching a one-day group lesson like this one, which of course we're doing virtually this year.
For the $250 level, we have another photo from our virtual summer camp. This level funds new family and volunteer recruitment in new cities.
For the $100 level, I've added a photo of the arts and crafts lessons that I did with my student Noor, who is going through treatment for her leukemia, and her twin sister Vienna. This level funds all the materials and costs of a single one-on-one match.
It's amazing to see all of your donations coming in on the screen.
As we continue to watch your incredible support come through, we're so excited about the next portion of our show. Our co-founder, Xander Lurie, has brought back his virtual fireside chat series that he started in June. And this time, he's sitting down with longtime CoachArt board member and ESPN president, Jimmy Pitaro. We're going to take down the total on the screen for now, but of course, donations are still accepted throughout the fireside chat, and we'll check the total again at the end of the show. Take it away, Xander and Jimmy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CoachArt Fireside Chat with the president of ESPN, my dear friend of almost 20 years now, Jimmy Pitaro. My name is Xander Lurie. I'm the co-founder of CoachArt, and I'm thrilled to have a fireside chat with no fire and not even sitting within 3,000 miles of my friend Jimmy. But welcome to the Gala, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm great, Xander. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. And thank you for being with us on what is today National Coaches Day. And I can't think of a more fitting person to interview than an executive with the most coveted job in sports, the president of ESPN. Jimmy, you are as passionate of a sports fan as anybody I have ever met. Everything around you is logoed Yankees. So maybe my first question, take us back to when you were 5 or 6 or 9 years old. Who was your favorite coach in all of sports? Maybe your own coach or someone you looked up to, and tell us why.
Well, huge Yankee fan. Grew up in a house where the Yankees were the soundtrack, at least during the season. And the manager during some of my formative years was a guy named Billy Martin. And he was incredibly passionate, cared so deeply, had a great personality, was able to make fun of himself and be somewhat self-deprecating and just not take himself too seriously. But again, at the same time, he was so passionate about the Yankees and about winning. So from a professional perspective, it was definitely Billy Martin. And then for me personally, look, I've had so many coaches throughout my life, and one of them really stands out, a gentleman named Coach Tuttle. And Coach Tuttle was my high school basketball coach. And I would have walked through fire for Coach Tuttle. He was that perfect balance of toughness and compassion, and he was both a friend and a teacher, and just really a fantastic role model. So from my personal experience, it was Coach Tuttle, and professionally as a Yankee fan, it was Billy Martin.
Jimmy, who's the Coach Tuttle in your professional life? When I met you, you were an aspiring executive at Yahoo, and you made the jump to Disney. You've been on the CoachArt board for, I believe, over 12 years, and probably at Disney for a decade. Who's Coach Tuttle in your professional life these days?
I'm actually going to call out two people. First is someone who you and I both know incredibly well or knew, Dave Goldberg. Fortunately, Dave passed away a few years ago. But Dave was definitely a mentor of mine in so many different ways, both professionally and personally. We were separated by a couple of inch thick cube wall for many years at a music startup called Launch.com, whereas I was Dave's lawyer. And one of the things that I got to experience is how much Dave actually paid it forward. So you could be a music industry executive, or you could be a 22-year-old kid right out of school. And if you called Dave, he would respond to you and respond quickly. And his general MO in life was to recognize how incredibly fortunate he was and to pay that forward. And so definitely something that I try to replicate in my day-to-day. And then, number two is, of course, Bob Iger. Bob hired me 10 years ago from Yahoo. I joined the Walt Disney Company to work for Bob. In my first interview with him in, I guess, August of 2010, I met with Bob at his house, and I immediately said to myself, this is someone that I want to work for. He was so incredibly calm, thoughtful, was asking all of the right questions. And then, after spending a decade with him now, working in a professional capacity, just incredibly level-headed, optimistic, supportive, and I'd say most importantly, decisive. I'll walk into Bob's office and I'll present the issue or list of issues, and Bob will typically say one of two things. Either here's what I suggest you do and help guide me, or he'll say it's your call, but I support you either way. And he's just been nothing but supportive over the past decade, and I'm incredibly grateful to him.
And give us 30 seconds, if you would, on being an executive in the sports world today and the pandemic that is making your job and the ability to broadcast sports so challenging.
Yeah. How much time do we have? Look, so March 11th, right? That was a really important day. I think that was the day that the NBA postponed its season. And earlier, we gathered as a leadership team to discuss what we do and how we program if sports were canceled or put on hold. And so I don't want to say that we were surprised or not prepared in any way, but you're never fully prepared for something like that. So anyway, our programming team immediately got together. We scrambled and started to look at our options. How do we again replace all of these games that we otherwise would have had, populating our networks? And so we looked at things like pulling up The Last Dance, which was something that was scheduled to launch in June with the NBA playoffs, and it was not ready. It was not done. But our content team worked with the producers and the director, and we were able to pull that up so that we had some really high quality programming, and it did very well for us. Same thing goes for several of our other 30 for 30 films, like Be Water, the Bruce Lee story, and we had a documentary around Lance Armstrong. We were able to pull both of those up. We had a baseball documentary tied to the Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire home run derby. And anyway, the team just did a really fantastic job at pulling things up and keeping us going. We looked at, what classic games we could potentially re-air to try to drive engagement and ratings. And again, I feel really proud about how scrappy the team was. And look, I also saw our leaders across ESPN step up in amazing ways, from our executives to our talent. And I think that says a lot about the culture of ESPN. It really is an incredible place.
Maybe transition a bit to philanthropy. You've been an incredible supporter and volunteer with your time and your money and your resources and access. Maybe share a little bit with folks who are watching today about the importance of getting started philanthropically earlier in your career.
Yeah, look, it's been an absolute joy for me personally. First off, working with an incredible board that wants nothing more than to help children and their families. All of us rowing in the same direction, part of a team, all with the same goals. It really has been a joy for me. And second, just being able to do some good in this world and recognize how incredibly fortunate I am and being able, per Dave Goldberg, being able to pay it forward. We all get so caught up in our day-to-day work, and it's important to not lose sight of what's really important, to gain some perspective and to use your energy in different and impactful ways. And CoachArt, gives me the ability to do that.
Well, I want to ask a couple of questions from some of our students. The first question comes from 7-year-old Ariel. She's a student in San Diego.
Hi, my name is Ariel from...
For almost 2 decades, CoachArt has provided
My name is Ariel from Farwood, California. And my question is, how would you think sports will be different after COVID-19?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, first off, you can expect to see and have more access to players. So if you've watched any of our programming, like, again, UFC or Top Rank Boxing, you're able to hear the punches. You're able to hear the fighters communicating with their coaches. Now with Major League Baseball back without fans, you're able to hear more of what's happening on the field because we're placing mics in the dirt. On the NBA side, we'll have mics in the arena, in the court, on the court. So I would expect that general concept of more access to the players to survive this pandemic, and it's something that we've had success with here even pre-pandemic.
Next question from Jalen, a 9-year-old CoachArt student from Los Angeles.
My name is Jalen, and I'm from Baldwin Park. My question is, did you play any sports growing up?
I did. I played football, basketball, and baseball. I was probably best at football and actually went to college to play football, but I quickly realized I was not going to be a professional and needed to focus on something else. So anyway, while football may have been the sport that I was best at, it was actually not my favorite. My favorite sport to play growing up was baseball. But thank you for the question.
Well, Jimmy, let me close by thanking you on behalf of the CoachArt Board of Directors and the thousands of children we serve throughout the country every year, and hundreds of coaches who donate their time. You've been an incredible volunteer, donor, and just champion with your resources and your voice for over a decade with CoachArt, and we've been incredibly fortunate to have your service. And obviously the ESPN and Walt Disney Networks, we continue to cheer you on, and you're just an incredible leader. So thanks for spending the time with us today. We always learn and are always inspired by you, and wish you and Jeannie and your kids continued health and success.
Thank you, Xander. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Take care.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. You've been responsible for an amazing partnership between CoachArt and Disney for years, and we just found out today that we'll be furthering that partnership even more. CoachArt is excited to announce a new partnership with ESPN to connect the company's volunteers one-on-one with pediatric patients from Connecticut Children's Medical Center. This partnership will aim to recruit 25 new ESPN volunteers every month for a year, a total of 300 new volunteer coaches from ESPN. ESPN will be making a grant to establish a CoachArt point person to lead the effort and build capacity for more Walt Disney Company employees to volunteer as coaches for patients in their own communities. This is incredible.
And thank you again to Kelly Corrigan. We're also thrilled to announce that Kelly has donated an experience to be auctioned off benefiting CoachArt. The event has been included by the website Charity Buzz as part of their upcoming virtual experiences campaign starting later this week. Up to 25 friends will have the opportunity to participate in a virtual book club with Kelly about her book, Tell Me More. We'll send out the link to all of you when it goes live.
As all of this exciting news has been breaking, the donations have been coming in. As you can see on the screen, the total amount donated through PledgeLink is more than $95,000. Almost $100,000. That's amazing. And when you add in the generous donations of our sponsors, the grand total is over $713,000.
Oh, that's amazing. Before we go, I want to mention we've added a form on the screen that you can check off if you're interested in becoming a coach or an ambassador for CoachArt. Come work with me and the amazing programs team.
Now to close out the show, we're going to scroll the names of all the generous sponsors for tonight's event. Please check them out. Thank you all so much for joining us and for supporting CoachArt tonight. Have a happy National Coaches Day.